For 2025, one of Ford's best-selling models, the Ford Explorer that we have right here, has been thoroughly refreshed and, well, almost redesigned. Outside, we have all new fascias. Inside, we have a completely rethought-out cabin, which has been one of my own pet peeves of the pre-facelifted version of this popular American SUV. And I think it's even better than ever in terms of ride, engine performance, sound, color options, and now the trim structure is a little bit more trimmed down and easier to pick from. And this is the entry-level-ish active trim, coming in as tested around $48,000. You're actually getting a lot for your money, and I wouldn't call this a base model whatsoever, especially with the around $3,000 comfort and convenience package, which is getting you so many options that it doesn't even make you really want to step up to a higher model. You pretty much have everything you need. So let's go dive in. I'm going to show you all of the fun things about this all-new 2025 Ford Explorer, and if you should consider one amidst the sea of crossovers that have 3 rows in this segment right now, which is, it's an endless one. So does this Ford Explorer really stick out? Now, what isn't really new is the powertrain options for the Ford Explorer. Starting out, we have this engine right here, which is a 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder engine, making around 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Pretty strong and impressive numbers, and I have to say, it feels that way on the road. This car does not feel slow whatsoever. And I think they kind of retuned something with the engine sound, because it sounds a little bit more raspier and throatier inside the cabin. And honestly, it doesn't even sound like a 4-cylinder at all. It sounds like a larger engine. I actually quite like this a lot. Of course, you can opt for the twin-turbo EcoBoost V6 and the ST Platinum lines. That's going to give you around 400-ish horsepower. That car really has a nice kick to it as well. But for everyday driving, I think this engine is perfectly fine for the Explorer. I honestly wouldn't be concerned about having a 4-cylinder engine on here, and it's paired to the 10-speed automatic gearbox, which has been revised. Really nice, smooth shifts. I really haven't had any issues with it over the course of this week. Same can be said with this engine. Fuel economy-wise, it isn't the best thing in the class. There's no more Ford Explorer hybrid or plug-in hybrid. You really just have these 2 gas options. So it'd be nice to see if Ford could maybe reintroduce a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid, or an EV version of the Explorer at some point to kind of diversify the lineup a little bit. But we have pretty 2 solid engine options that I think a lot of Explorer customers are pretty happy with. Anyways, back to MPG, you're going to average around 22 to 25-ish MPG on, I think, combined. On the highway, we can see up around 27 MPG, as this is the all-wheel drive model, though rear-wheel drive models can see around 28 MPG, which is pretty nice. Right up front, you're going to notice an entirely new front fascia on the 2025 Ford Explorer. A little bit more boxier, larger grills overall, but overall it has that very familiar Explorer look, I think, to it. A little bit of a redesign in the headlights. They're very, very bright at night. We have these LED units over here, and each Explorer trim is going to have its own unique grille. In this active trim, we have this sort of mesh slash chrome style design. If you step up to an ST line or ST, you're going to get that sporty black mesh grille, and the Platinum is also going to have its own unique grille. This active trim also has this bright work down here, and we're going to find that on the rear of this Explorer as well, because we have an additional package. So overall, I think it's a nice, clean, unoffensive, handsome look for the Explorer. Pretty solid for a facelift. Now, also an option on this Explorer are these upgraded 20-inch wheels, which I think look quite nice, complementing this car. You know, it's not the sporty ST line versions. They're going to get those more aggressive wheels, or it's not going to be the super loud and flashy ones that we're going to see on the Platinum. These are pretty nice, simple wheels. We are rocking Michelin rubber here from the factory as well, which I think is a nice choice. And overall, even the suspension compliance and everything has been really good over the course of this week. So I think for 2025, Ford has really toned in the ride and dynamics of this vehicle as well, and it's really, really a noticeable difference. Now, the most recognizable part of this 2025 Ford Explorer facelift has to be on the rear end. This looks pretty different than what we're pretty familiar with on all the Explorers on the roads now. Instead of the taillights kind of just ending right here, they now extend into this black trim piece on the rear tailgate, which is pretty nice. Explorer is spelled out right on there. I think this is a pretty sleek style design. One of my favorite actually new aspects of this Ford Explorer. I really like this vapor blue paint finish on here as well. We have our 4-wheel drive badges as well as our active badges there. And we also have a tow hitch on this Explorer, and in the right configurations, it can tow up to 5,000 pounds. Now, opening up the rear tailgate here, we have a little button here. Of course, we can also use our key fob to open this up, and we have quite a large amount of space. Now, you're also going to notice that the 3rd row is up right now. In total, you're going to get around 18-ish cubic feet of storage capacity in your Explorer, and there's a lot of different ways you can use the storage in the Explorer. We have these nice side cubbies back here, which is really nice. We can also open up this floor area over here to reveal a little bit more a storage underneath this nice felt-lined cargo dividing floor. And if we do need to fold these seats down, it is a full manual operation, but it isn't that too difficult of a process. Pull these latches down and we will see the rear headrests go down, which is a nice touch in the third row on both ends, and they should pop right down for you. If not, pull it again, it seems to go down, and that's going to unlock a lot more cargo space if you're not going to be using that third row. That's also revealing all the amenities those third row passengers are getting, from their cup holders to a little bit of some storage capacity, though it does not appear we're getting any sort of dedicated charging points for the driver's side, but the passenger side is getting 2 USB-C ports, which is a pretty nice touch. And of course, those awesome air vents mounted in the roof. Now let's see how easy it is to get into the third row of this 2025 Explorer. Nice wide door opening on the second row, which really enables you to get in pretty easily. We have a small step over here, and all you have to do is pull this one lever on the seat, and it should run and fold back, leaving you a little bit of some space to squeeze in. But let's go check out what's happening back there. Now, stepping into the third row, let's hop inside. Now, as a 6 foot tall adult, this probably is not going to be the biggest third row that you're going to want to put adults in. So when I put this seat back, I don't think I can put it back all the way, as I think I'm going to get stuck back here, but it is definitely a little bit cramped. As I mentioned before, I have a cup holder back here, some storage cubbies on the side, even up here, but this passenger side does get 2 USB-C ports, which is a nice touch. And of course, we have our roof-mounted air vents, so you do have some ventilation back here, though without this panoramic sunroof option, it's a little bit dark in this cabin, and even with these side windows over here, I still feel a little bit claustrophobic and cramped in this third row. These rows can be moved up just a little bit, but I don't think as an adult I'd want to spend too much time back here. That would be my space for this second row. So let's go have a look at that now. And getting into the second row is pretty easy. We can shut the doors up. Nice solid thunk there. And here we have plenty of glass space to view out of, as well as some really nice accents and trim on this door panel over here. Everything feels very quite solid for once. I think they did a good job on this interior refresh. Again, we have our air vents located up here, and we have our climate controls located down in the center console area over here to control our fan speed and temperature, as well as direction, which is pretty nice. We're also getting a 12-volt socket back here and 2 USB-C ports as well. So lots of USB-C ports in this cabin for charging. Nice rubberized floor mount on this one, which is covering the entire floor, and thankfully Ford was able to keep this center hump not too big, so it's really not going to hurt second row passenger space. We have a storage cubby in the back of the driver and passenger seat, which is a pretty nice touch, and cup holders right in the door as well, which is pretty nice, and even more space down here. We can also fold down this center console space to reveal 2 more cup holders, so we have plenty of those in our 2025 Explorer. Nice design on these seats. This is not leather, it's just like active text faux leather material, which actually feels quite nice. We can adjust these seats for the second row, so we can slide them forward and backwards. We also do have a reclining function as well, so I can recline pretty far back and forward as well, which is a pretty nice touch. We can see the difference right here, how much of that recline can really affect your space here. But it seems that this second piece doesn't typically move, so sitting in there as a 6 foot tall passenger, honestly not too bad. This car is so wide, you really have a lot of space for all passengers in this vehicle, so you really can fit 5 adults in here if you do have to, which could potentially happen. So honestly, not too bad in the rear space here. But let's go talk about the new stuff Ford is doing up front here with their new Ford digital experience and this new cockpit. Now, getting in the front end of this Explorer, I do want to point out on this active trim that we are not getting body colored painted side mirrors. So they are in this kind of cheaper-ish black plastic. There's also no turn signal repeater on here, and they are not power folding. There's also an interesting angle to them that I think while driving is a little bit disorienting, so I wish they could be like forced down a little bit, but that's just one thing I noticed. We do have blind spot though, thankfully, and keyless access. You can also get the touchpad if you do want to option that in. Opening up this interior, again, really nice materials we're having even on this active trim. And let's hop into this cabin space here, because this is pretty nice of an upgrade, I think, for the Ford Explorer. So this is Ford's new digital experience interior. This is one of the first Ford products to get this outside of the all-new Lincoln Aviator, which is rebranded as the Lincoln Experience. But as you can see here, we have really nice displays, and they're fully lit up right now. Let's turn on the vehicle here. Comes to life pretty quickly, and I have to say, all's been working quite well. So up front on our steering wheel front, we have this nice stitching over here. I wish they could change these buttons. Everything on the steering wheel I think is perfectly fine. Just these buttons just remind me of older Ford products. I think they could have redesigned this for this 2025 facelift, but nonetheless, they do work pretty fine. We have all of our adaptive cruise control, lane keeping systems on this hand, which work fantastically, and this isn't even the ones with the Blue Cruise, which you can option as well. Volume controls and all of our menu controls over here for our digital cluster, which has plenty of screens to cycle through and lots of different fun things we can do. We can even pull up a full map on here with off-road status, configurable views, driver assistance views. Here's check out this map view right here, which also works with Apple Maps as well as with the built-in standard Google Maps. So lots of different views you can kind of select from in here, which I quite like. We do have automatic high beams as well, which is a nice touch. And we also have a drive mode selector down here in the center console area, which is going to give up a whole bunch of different drive modes. So I like to drive in eco most of the time to get the most efficiency out of this thing. But we also do have a sport mode, which pipes in some fake engine noise. You can hear that there. We also are getting a tow haul mode as well as a normal, slippery, and off-road mode. So lots of different modes. They all have their own little graphics with them as well. So I think that's a pretty cool touch. Nice visual change for this new digital cluster here. Really, really like what's going on there. Very quick, very high resolution, and that's also same to be said about this touchscreen here in the center console. This is running that back-end Google style based software, and honestly, it's been really good. Everything's super quick to touch. But off the bat, there's some issues I think some people are going to have. All of the climate controls are now baked into the screen, which some manufacturers do this in a nice, simple way. This is a little bit confusing sometimes. You do have your temperature controls right here, which is pretty easy to access, and you can kind of swipe it up to either link it or change your temperature control. But to get into your menu here to kind of move around all of your fan directions, you have to kind of either tap through these different areas, or you can kind of press the buttons on the side here. It's going to give you a visual of what's happening, but you do have to go through all these menus to change these different functions, or just leave it in auto and let the car kind of figure out what you want to set the different fan speeds and climate to. Thankfully, we do have dedicated buttons here for our heated steering wheel and seats. We even have automatic heated seats for the driver and passenger, and if you're in the Platinum, you're going to get ventilated and massaging seats as well, which is a nice touch. But this whole redesigned center console space over here is really one of my favorite touches of this entire interior. The dash materials have been incredibly improved. We have this like soft cloth style material over here, which turns into like a Bang & Olufsen speaker when you option that one in. Nice Explorer logo in there. All this material, it is plastic, but it feels quite nice and very well put together. I think Ford spent a lot of time on quality in this vehicle to make sure there were no issues. Even this whole floating center console piece over here, which can have a wireless charger as option, this one does not have that. Feels very nice and solid. Same thing goes with this little storage cubby down here, which opens up to reveal some USB-C ports, a 12-volt socket, and again, this actually sounds quite nice as well. We still have this rotary style shifter over here, which I think works fine. Pretty solidly built as well. Electronic park and brake, and of course we saw our drive mode selector from before. Some more storage over here. Open up this nicely padded center armrest, and that reveals even more storage and more USB-C ports in there. So we have 2 more USB-C ports and a cable routing notch right there. So lots of charging solutions here in the 2025 Explorer. So that's one of the main things they did focus on as well. Some hard buttons down here. So we have a volume knob as well as the auto stop start switch, parking sensors for the rear parking sensors, and we only have a reversing camera on this one, but you can get a 360 panoramic camera as well as auto brake hold. Of course, we have a nice locking glove box, which is pretty sizable as well. So decent amount of space and storage going on here. Now I would like to see the panoramic sunroof option. It's around $1,400, which for some reason this one does not have, but you're still getting quite a lot of stuff in this vehicle. And just diving into this new infotainment system here, it is very different than the previous Explorers. So you have your home screen style layout here. You're going to see your Google Maps, your driving profiles, your phone, and whatever's playing on your audio right there pretty much at all times. Go to these quick vehicle settings here. You can kind of change some other very basic information here, and then you can go right into the endless amount of settings, from your sound settings, Bluetooth settings, all of your driver assistance settings, because you're getting so many driver assistance safety features with this 2025 Explorer, even just as standard. And we also have system settings over there, updates, and all that wonderful stuff. So, and as you can see, the response time and the just fluidity of the screen is very, very quick. And since it is that Google-based software, you're getting all these other fun things. You can have Cisco WebEx meetings on here if you do need to. You can open YouTube, browse YouTube while you're parked, and kind of see what's happening on there. It's a full YouTube browser on there, which I think is pretty cool. We also have Google News, Alexa, and games. So yes, this can connect a controller and you can literally play games that are built for this vehicle on here. So I guess this makes a little bit more sense in a vehicle like the Mustang Mach-E where you can charge, but you know, if you're on a road trip, you're at a rest stop and your kids are bored, whip out the controllers and they can play some Asphalt Nitro 2, for example. And it honestly is loading pretty decently quick, even with the cellular connection. Pretty cool stuff you can do on the infotainment system of this all-new Ford Explorer with the Ford digital experience. And going out into our menu, we can see we have Sirius, all those other basic things. And let's just open Google Maps really quick to get an example of how big it displays on the screen over here. Really nice fluid display, incredibly quick animations. Scroll to zoom works really nice. I don't know, it's just a really impressive system. The only issues I've had this week have been some Apple CarPlay connectivity problems, but I think that's just a general issue with wireless Apple CarPlay across a few different vehicles. So that's something to be expected, but it kind of fixed itself and it hasn't really happened again. Otherwise, really impressed with the upgrades in this interior. This is a really well thought out revision and quality improvement and general technology improvement of the Ford Explorer. And it's definitely caught up and beyond of the times now. And I have to say, these seats are so comfortable. They feel like a couch. They have incredibly wide amount of support over here. So lots of bolstering, but it's wide enough to really fit anyone. So I really wouldn't be concerned getting into this seat. If you are a little bit on the smaller side, it might be too big of a seat actually. So you might want to look at some other vehicles. I like this contrasting patterns over here. So we have this nice same soft touch cloth material that we saw up here on the dash on the seat. And that's blended in with the seats. The passenger seat does not get full controls of this driver's seat, so you do get lumbar and some power controls, but I get a little bit more of some thigh adjustment, which is a nice touch there. Upgrade to the platinum trims and the higher ST trims, you're definitely going to get some more support there for the passenger. But again, otherwise, really nice stuff going on here on the 2025 Explorer. Let's go take it for a drive. I have plenty of drive modes to choose from in the facelifted Explorer and really nice graphics that kind of play with them up here on our digital cluster. We have normal, eco, sport, tow haul, as well as slippery, and even an off-road mode as well. But we're going to put it in eco and then kind of cycle through the different modes to see what's changed. Off the bat, this 4-cylinder engine is actually quite smooth to my surprise. I think they've kind of redeveloped the sound of the engine just a little bit for this facelifted Explorer because it sounds a little bit smoother and has this nice unique grunt to it, even in sport mode, that kind of pumps in some active sound through the speakers, which actually sounds quite nice. But going around town, this engine is good. You don't really feel like you're missing out on the V6 unless you really want that additional power, which you're going to get in the ST, and you can optionally get it as well in the Platinum. I think this is a perfect engine for around town. You're getting decent MPG, nothing too crazy. You're going to probably see around 22, 20-ish combined. On the highway, it could be a little bit higher, up to around 27 MPG with this all-wheel drive model. Now, heading out onto the road here, we're going to pop it into the sport mode, and I want you guys to pay attention to the pumped-in audio that Ford has put into this 2025 Explorer. And it's pretty quick with around 300 horsepower and just around the same with torque. You also never feel slow in this Explorer whatsoever, even in highway scenarios. It's really good at getting up to speed quite quickly with that nice low-end torque from this EcoBoost engine. Same thing can be said with this 10-speed auto. They've definitely worked on the tuning with this gearbox. It's a lot smoother. You don't really feel like it's ever gear hunting, and you honestly don't even notice the shifts 99% of the time. It's just so in the background, and that's exactly what you want with this kind of vehicle. It's not looking to be a sporty performance vehicle. It's just looking to be a smooth, comfortable family hauler. And of course, on the police end, this is one of the most popular police vehicles, and that vehicle is going to be tuned way differently than this on-road one we're all getting as consumers. But we are losing the options of plug-in hybrids or hybrids or anything now around, so you really just get to those two engine options. Now, how is the Explorer out on the road in terms of handling? I think they've also improved this for the 2025 model year with this facelift
I think it's well tuned, pretty comfortable. I was really impressed with the ride off the bat in this Explorer. I think it handles itself on the road quite well. I've looked at some things of the past. Some people have said the Explorer came off as a little bit busy on the roads, but I really haven't noticed that. I think it's quite smooth, especially on even pavement and even on broken pavement. I think it's pretty smooth. Only issues I think I would come across is there's a lot of wind buffeting up in this upper portion over here. I can notice on the highway. I'm not sure where it's coming from. It could be from the roof rails, but if there's anything to point out there about this general driving experience, it would be that. Acceleration in eco mode is definitely a little bit on the softer side. You definitely do get some of that engine noise still from under the hood and not even pumped in as you're going to get in sport mode. So I like that. It has a nice natural grunt to it, and it doesn't even sound that much like a 4-cylinder. Honestly, if I got on this, it could have been a V6. It's that kind of smooth and power dense of an engine. One thing I would like improved is the steering feel isn't really incredible, but again, you know, that's not really what this vehicle is meant for at the end of the day. Not too the biggest fan of the steering wheel shape. I think that could honestly fix in that, but even going around corners, it is very well planted. Minimal body roll, which is pretty nice. Overall, pretty good compliant driving experience. We know this vehicle is based on the Ford CD6 platform, so it's rear-wheel drive bias, front engine, not transverse. It's a regular longitudinal platform, so it has good chassis dynamics. Let's head out here onto the highway real quick. A small acceleration test from this EcoBoost 4-cylinder. And we are already up to highway speeds quite quickly. Yes, it's a little bit of a downslope over here, but even on flat surfaces, really no issues getting up to speed on the highway. And here in sport mode, you can kind of hear that pumped in engine sound. I'm going to put it in eco and normal for a second, and here's a difference with the sound when accelerating. So you definitely notice it's a little bit quieter out here on the highway when not in sport mode in this interior, but out here on the highway you can hear it's pretty quiet. That truck's just a little bit loud, so please pardon that sound, but I think it's quite comfortable. Don't feel like it's lane hunting or anything, and we have pretty good safety systems on this 2025 Explorer, which a lot of it comes standard, which is quite nice. This one has full adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, all these different collision warnings and stuff, so I think it works pretty well. It's easy to access from the left hand side of your steering wheel. You really just pop it in and it's ready to go. And of course you can now get Blue Cruise on the higher end versions of the new 2025 Explorer, which allow for hands-free driving, and those vehicles will have a little bit of a sensor sticking out of the steering wheel here to monitor your eyes, to make sure you're always looking at the road, to make sure you can get into that hands-free mode. But this system alone works really well. You have to keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times, of course, for these style systems, but it's it's a better system in the sense that it's always going to be driving. It's not pogoing you back in between the lanes. It's going to be centered in the lanes at all times. You can see it's steering itself around this corner right now, for example, so it's doing well. Things with the Blue Cruise though, you will get things like active lane change assist, so it'll help you merge in and out of lanes, which is kind of cool. This one doesn't do that, but overall I think as a cruise control system it works quite nice. And it's easy to deactivate and reactivate as well. Another fun feature with this car is that we have a full map up here as well now on this digital cluster, which I quite like. And it also works with Apple Maps. So once it loads right here, you can see it's going to open up in Google Maps. This is now going to change over to Apple Maps. Awesome, that's really cool. So I like having that versatility up there. This is that new Google-based system. That's really what that's going to allow for you, which is really cool. Otherwise, you can kind of get rid of this view and you'll still get some trip information and navigation information in the other displays when a turn is prompted up right over here in your center cluster, which is a nice touch as well. And I like this clean display as well. You have a lot of different customizable options now in the 25 Explorer, and you can always option this thing out to be way more intense than what you already have. You can get a Bang & Olufsen audio system. You can get that nice panoramic glass roof, which I wish this one had so we could experience it over the course of this week. But I'm really impressed with the upgrades here. This new digital experience we're having in the Explorer really elevates it up to a higher bar, I think. And Ford's really focused and worked on a lot of quality and just build management here. It feels really solid all around. really no complaints there. And I'm also really impressed with the performance of this engine, like I said, out on the highway and on around roads. It's pretty efficient, pretty smooth, and overall a really nice cohesive experience. So definitely look at the 2025 Explorer if you're shopping around in this mid-size SUV segment and need that third row. It's not the biggest third row in the segment, but definitely can haul some kids around back there and put them down when you need a little bit more storage space in that trunk. So good job Ford on this 2025 Explorer, and I'm really impressed with even just this entry-level active trim. And of course we have plenty of other trims to explore. Hopefully we'll get a chance to get into the new ST with the twin turbo V6. Again, nothing really has changed on performance front there, but I want to experience that version of the Explorer with all of these new upgrades as well, to really see what the higher end of the Explorers are now offering. As always, guys, thank you for joining me on yet another video over here at Allcarnews, and as always, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.